Welcome to the VidConcierge Show, the podcast that helps health professionals master their delivery, speak with clarity, and show up on camera like the trusted expert they are. In each episode, you'll learn practical techniques and expert insights to elevate how you communicate on video so your message lands, your presence connects, and more people see you as the trusted authority in your field. Let's get started. Hello, welcome back to the VidConcierge Show. My name is Dr. Walter Salubro. I am your host. Today's episode is about how to start your video with confidence and clarity. Now, have you ever sat down to record a video and you've asked yourself or wondered, why does this suddenly feel so difficult? I know I've been there at the beginning when I started my YouTube journey and recording videos for my online content. So if that's you, you're definitely not the only one that feels that. What's interesting is that just a few minutes earlier, if you've ever done this, you've probably were talking to a patient with complete confidence in your clinic. You answered questions, explained the condition, and you've helped someone understand their problem without ever thinking twice about what to say. In other words, you appeared confident with that patient. Then you go turn on the camera to film a video later on, and you suddenly start thinking about yourself instead of the message that you're about to deliver. And after creating more than 400 YouTube videos and coaching other doctors on this process, I've realized that most docs and most people don't really have a confidence problem. They have an attention problem. It's where they place their attention. And that's why the confidence shifts away and they appear less confident on camera. And what happens is that the camera shifts your focus away from helping someone towards evaluating and thinking about yourself. And once that happens, the delivery of your message completely changes. Now, here's the good news, is that you can actually learn to shift your attention back to where it belongs, which is on the person that you're helping with your message. And that's what this episode is about, because I'm going to share with you 2 techniques, really awesome techniques that are easy to do, that has helped me appear and come on more confident on camera. And I've taught this to other people, and I know that you can use them as well. So these will help you to communicate with the same confidence that you have when you're in your office, in your clinic, helping patients. Now, before I get into these techniques, I want to change the way you start to think about confidence, because most people think it's a confidence problem that comes first or a confidence situation. In fact, it's not. It's more about clarity. I think confidence is a result of being clear, and clarity. Think about the conditions that you work with every day in your practice, the patients. You don't have to convince yourself to feel confident explaining them, answering questions. You've done it hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times over the last years and decades. So your experience allows you to focus on that patient instead of yourself. And that's what real confidence looks like. And the patients really see it as well. But it begins to change when you start to create video content or when you appear on camera. So the key is not acting fearless or trying to sound like a professional speaker or a performer. It's really knowing your subject, the material, so well, their attention goes on to helping another person understand what you're delivering. So before you ever press record, I want you to understand and remember that you are the expert. You are the authority. You're the trusted authority. You spent years learning about your techniques in your profession, helping patients, answering the questions that really most people have never had answers to. And the camera does not take any of that away. Okay, it does not. So your job isn't to become someone who's confident on camera. Your job is to let the experienced health professional that you are, that your patients already know and trust, to show up on camera. And once you look at it this way, everything begins to change. It's like a shift that occurs. So how do you make that happen? There's these really cool techniques, 2 of them that I'm going to show you that have helped me, and I know they can help you communicate in a way that's no different in your day-to-day practice with your patients. So technique number 1 is the patient mindset. This is a mindset shift. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're pressing record is that they believe that they're creating a video for an audience of people, a pool of people, and you're not. You're creating a video for one person that's going to watch it, and that's a very different way of looking at it. And that's the mindset shift that I want you to have. In fact, it's a patient mindset shift, because you've helped many people with conditions in your office that you're making videos about. So when you're creating a video, think about a patient that you've helped recently. Picture their face. Remember the questions they asked and the concerns they had before you ever started to explain things. Now imagine that they're sitting behind the camera. This simple shift changes where your attention goes. So instead of wondering about how you sound, how you look, if you come across professional enough, your mind begins to shift focus on the other person and your delivery of your information comes out a lot more natural. You begin to ask, how can I explain this to this person? The shift begins to happen where you're now asking to yourself, how can I explain this material to this person so they really understand it? And in fact, that's what you do every day in practice. And it's no different when you deliver that same message on camera. You're no longer trying to create confidence. You're creating clarity. You're clear on what you want to say, and it becomes clear to the other person that you're delivering the message to. So confidence often follows naturally because your attention is moved back to where it belongs, which is the person that's listening to your message. Now, technique number 2 is a warm-up technique. This happens very often. Someone sits down, they press record, and they expect themselves to deliver their best performance on camera with the very first sentence. Now think about how unrealistic that expectation is. In fact, even when I film this podcast recording right now that I'm talking to right now, I've had to press record 3, 4, 5 times. So if you think about an athlete, they don't just show up and start playing. They warm up before they compete. A musician, they rehearse before the concert starts. Professional speakers on stage spend a few minutes going over their material, rehearsing their introduction before they're completely comfortable showing up on stage. So why should recording a video be any different? So if you spend a few minutes warming up, rehearsing your introduction, which is the most important part, then you will appear far more confident on camera. In fact, you'll feel more confident that you'll appear more confident. And this technique is very, very helpful. So before you press record and you want to capture the version that other people are going to see, spend a minute or two through the topic that you're about to deliver on. Speak out the topic. Answer the questions that the topic's about without worrying about the kind of mistakes you may make. And answer in such a way that you would deliver the same content to a patient. Okay? Explain it out loud. You can ask yourself, why does this material even matter? Why am I delivering this information? And also when you practice your introduction, then you allow your voice to settle into a more natural rhythm. So by the time you start recording, you're no longer thinking about the camera or about yourself. You're just teaching the material that you want the person to capture. This small transition can make a big difference because it allows your mind to shift from recording mode into communication mode, into a mode where you want to help that person. So just to wrap this up, starting a video with confidence isn't about changing who you are. It's about removing the things that prevent the real you from showing up. When you stop thinking about performing and how you appear on camera or sound on camera, and you start thinking about helping others, your communication begins to feel not just more natural, but also more confident. You feel more confident and you appear more confident. When you give yourself a few minutes to settle down before recording, you trust the experience that you've spent years building on, and you stop critiquing yourself while speaking. The confidence becomes a natural byproduct. The focus is on serving the other person, the person that's going to hear your video message. And that's exactly where every great health educator does their best work. So here's your action step for today. Remember, every episode will give you an action step for you to practice to become a better communicator on camera. Before you record your next video, don't spend your last minute adjusting your camera or worrying about how you look. Set that in place. Instead, spend that minute thinking about one person, one patient that you've helped recently with the same problem that you're about to discuss on camera, on video, and picture them sitting behind the camera lens. Take a slow breath and begin explaining the topic exactly the way you would in your office. And then when you finish, look at your video and ask yourself this one question. Did I sound a lot more like a doctor that my patients already know and trust? If the answer is yes, then you accomplished your goal. Okay, so what's coming up in the next episode? Episode 19, we're going to talk about the first 30 seconds, capturing attention before they scroll. In fact, you need your intro to be scroll stopping. So we're going to talk about that. Once you know how to begin with confidence, the next challenge is to keep your viewers engaged. I'll show you how to structure those opening moments so people immediately feel understood, recognized, so your video becomes relevant to them so they keep on watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. That's it for today's episode of the VidConcierge show. Always remember, how you show up on camera shapes how people see you. So keep practicing, keep showing up, and keep leaning into the role as the trusted expert. If you got value from this episode, take a moment to rate it, review it, and subscribe. It really helps the show grow. And if you want a free audit of your YouTube channel, that's by me, head over to www.valtoriamedia.com/audit. Your personalized channel audit will show you what's working on your channel, what's missing, and what to fix next, so you get more visibility and authority with your videos. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time on the VidConcierge show.